That garage never mattered, he said almost under his breath. Lucy looked at him for a moment longer, then said, "It did. You just weren't looking at it the right way." Silence stretched between them, a pause that could have meant anything. She handed him the folder. "You'll need to file the final notice at County and Ogden. I can help with the paperwork if you need it." He nodded, took the folder. "Thanks." As he turned to leave, she said, "Noah." He stopped. She didn't approach, didn't soften her voice. "I don't expect an apology," she said, "and I don't need an explanation, but if you're staying longer than a week, you should know. The wind here still shifts at night." Noah blinked. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," she said, finally smiling, just barely, "not everything stays buried in dust more." The sun had climbed higher by the time Noah got back to the garage. The heat pressed down harder now, turning the air inside thick and motionless. He rolled up his sleeves and tied an old rag around his wrist where a loose nail had caught him earlier. There was no plan, just movement. He started shifting crates, clearing out the workbench, tossing out empty oil cans and scraps of rubber. Anything to distract his mind from Lucy's voice, still echoing in his head. Not everything stays buried in dust more. The garage felt like a mausoleum of half-finished ideas, tools placed with intention then left behind, notes taped to shelves with fading ink. He paused by an old wooden toolbox Earl had never let him touch as a kid. It was smaller than he remembered, scratched. One hinge was cracked. He lifted the lid. Inside, a handful of worn spark plugs, a matchbook from a diner that didn't exist anymore, and an envelope. Yellowed at the edges, corners curled. No name on the front, no seal. He hesitated, then opened it. A single photograph slid out, a Polaroid. It showed the front of the garage years ago, the paint still bright, the trees fuller, but it wasn't the building that made Noah freeze. It was the people. Earl stood on the left, arms crossed, the same stained jumpsuit he always wore. His face unreadable. Next to him, a teenage boy, maybe 16. Dark hair, tan skin, slight build. Grinning wide, leaning slightly toward Earl like he belonged there, like he thought it was safe. Noah didn't recognize him. He stared at the photo, squinting at the edges, trying to read the date. There wasn't one. He flipped it over, just 3 words written in Earl's shaky handwriting. Not mine. Still mine. Noah felt something tighten in his chest. He looked at the boy again. The familiarity was there, but not in memory. More like in feeling, like when a song plays that you've never heard but somehow already know. Who was this kid? Why did Earl have a picture of him? And why write that? Noah set the photo down, then began rifling through the rest of the box papers, receipts, nothing useful. He checked the drawers beneath the bench. In the back corner, jammed under a rusted socket set, was a second Polaroid. Same boy, this time sitting on the hood of the F-100. Same grin, same trust in his eyes. It made Noah uncomfortable, not because the boy was smiling, but because his father was too. A real smile, the kind Noah never got. He took both photos outside, into the light, held them up. The wind picked up slightly, teasing the corners. He could feel it now. An ache that wasn't quite jealousy, wasn't quite anger, something in between. He slipped the photos into his back pocket and leaned against the truck. Stared out at the street. No one passed by. No sounds but the creak of the garage sign above, rocking gently on rusted chains. Back inside, Noah sat on the edge of the workbench and pulled the small notebook from his bag again. He wrote, "Polaroid, boy with Earl, smiling." Not mine, still mine. Why? He closed the notebook, thought for a long time, then added, almost as an afterthought, Who did Earl love when no one was watching? The house next to the garage hadn't changed in 20 years. Same cracked stone steps, same wind chime made of silver spoons that clinked against each other in the breeze. The nameplate still read Hill in chipped brass letters. Noah knocked gently. It took a while before the door opened. Mrs. Hill stood there, wrapped in a thick cardigan despite the heat, her white hair pulled back in a soft bun, her eyes sharp as ever. "Noah Brody," she said, as if reading from an old file she never closed. "You look like your father, only quieter." He managed a nod. "Hi, Mrs. Hill. I just wanted to ask something. About the garage." She held the door open. "Well, if you're here for cookies or closure, I'm out of both. But come in anyway." He stepped into the house. It smelled like lemon polish and old coffee. The living room hadn't changed since he was 10. Same floral couch, same doily-covered table. Time paused. She motioned for him to sit, poured him tea without asking. He took a sip. Hot, bitter. She sat across from him, not smiling. "So," she said, "what is it you think I know?" Noah reached into his back pocket and pulled out one of the Polaroids, the one with Earl and the boy. He placed it gently on the table. Her eyes dropped to it. She didn't touch it, didn't blink. "That boy," Noah said. "Who is he?" Mrs. Hill kept staring, then said, "Some things your father didn't tell you. Maybe because he didn't know how. Maybe because you never stayed long enough to ask. I'm asking now." She sipped her tea. The cup rattled slightly in her hand. "His name was Javi, short for Javier. He was around a long time ago." Noah waited. Nothing more came. "How long was he around?" he asked. She hesitated. "Couple of years, maybe more. He worked in the shop sometimes, helped out after school. He was smart with his hands. Your father liked that." "Was he living there?" Her eyes darted to the window toward the garage, then back. "He stayed over sometimes. Earl never said much about it, just that the boy needed a place." "Was he his son?" Mrs. Hill shook her head. "No, not by blood. But," she set her teacup down harder than needed, "there's what's true and there's what people let themselves believe. Earl believed the boy belonged there. That's all I know." "That's not all," Noah said. A pause. Long, heavy. Then she said, almost in a whisper, "Javi left. One day he was just gone." Noah leaned forward. "Why?" Mrs. Hill stood slowly, walked to the window. Her hand touched the curtain but didn't pull it back. "I don't know," she said. "And if I did, I wouldn't be the one to tell you." Noah stood too. "Why not?" She turned, her face softer now. "Because your father made a mess of some things, but there are stories he tried to fix even when it was too late. Let this one come to you on its own." Noah stared at her. She added gently, "And maybe ask yourself why it bothers you. That someone else might have had a place in that garage that wasn't yours." He didn't answer. He just nodded once, then headed for the door. Before he left, she said behind him, "You still have that compass?" He stopped. "Yeah." "Good. Don't follow it. Just watch which way it turns." It was Lucy who noticed the sound first. She was walking across the garage floor, clipboard in hand, counting off load-bearing beams and noting sag in the eastern wall. The mid-morning light made the dust float like mist. Her boots echoed with each step, solid, then hollow, then solid again. She stopped, stepped back, tapped the same spot twice, a different sound, duller, hollow. Noah was near the workbench, sorting through bolts. She looked over. "Hey, come here." He wiped his hands with a rag and walked over. Lucy pointed at the floor. "Stand here." He stepped onto the plank. It creaked. "Now here," she said, motioning half a foot to the right. He stepped again. The echo dropped like knocking on an empty box. Noah raised an eyebrow. Crawl space? Not in Earl's original blueprints, I checked. He crouched down, ran his hand across the wood. The panel looked normal, a bit warped with age, but intact. Lucy dropped to one knee beside him. Noah found the seam faint, but there. A square outline, maybe 3 feet wide, set into the floorboards like a forgotten door. He pulled a flathead screwdriver from his back pocket and wedged it beneath the edge. With a grunt, he pried upward. The wood resisted, then popped. A sharp breath of stale air rose from below. Cold, still, untouched. Lucy held the flashlight. They peered down together. The space was shallow, barely 3 feet deep, but just wide enough to hold something long and heavy wrapped in a military tarp. Noah looked at her. She nodded. He reached down, grabbed the edge of the tarp, and pulled. Dust flew. Something scraped. Bit by bit, the form underneath came into view. Wheels, rusted chrome, a gas tank with faded red paint, a motorcycle, old, maybe early 90s, Yamaha or Honda, hard to tell with the dirt. It had been hidden well, no accident, someone meant for it to stay there. Noah knelt beside it, brushing dirt from the side of the tank. A small sticker still clung to the paint, a faded sun with a jagged smile. Lucy stepped back. "That's not Earl's." "I know," Noah said. She scanned the space again. No tools, no notes, just the bike. Alone. Noah turned the handlebars gently. The front wheel moved stiffly but didn't lock. "This was used," he muttered. "Ridden often, then hidden." Lucy asked, "Why would your father bury a bike under his floor?" Noah shook his head. "No clue." He opened the side compartment. Inside, a pair of gloves folded carefully, and beneath them a bandana black with white stars. He stared at it a moment, then pulled it out. Folded inside was another photo. Noah stood up slowly, holding it to the light. This one wasn't posed. It showed the same boy Javi straddling the bike, helmet tucked under one arm. The garage in the background, dusk light, motion blur. He was caught mid-laugh, looking off frame. And again, Earl beside him, not smiling this time, but watching, like a man who knew something was about to be taken away. Noah lowered the photo. Lucy waited. He handed it to her without a word. She studied it, then said softly, "He didn't just work here." Noah nodded. There was no denying it now. Javi had been part of this place, woven into it. And this bike? It wasn't hidden from theft. It was buried with care, as if someone couldn't bear to let it go but couldn't risk anyone finding it either. Noah looked at the empty floor above them, then back down into the hollow space. "What the hell happened here?" he whispered. Lucy didn't answer, but her silence said she wanted to know too. Noah sat alone in the garage long after Lucy left. The daylight had shifted, pulling long lines of shadow across the floor. Dust swirled in golden shafts that cut through the high window. The trapdoor remained open like the earth itself was exhaling. He hadn't moved the motorcycle yet. Couldn't. Instead, he sat at the workbench, flipping through one of Earl's old shop notebooks. He had dozens of them, spiral-bound, grease-stained, usually filled with wiring diagrams, part numbers, quick sketches, and dates scribbled in shorthand. Noah never paid them much attention before. They were the kind of thing Earl never explained, just used. But now, page by page, something different began to emerge. The first half of the book was all mechanics, alternator specs, distributor caps, idle settings for different engine types. But around 2/3 of the way through, the notes changed. The handwriting grew shakier, less measured. The sketches were messier, and the labels started getting personal. J. Chain replaced. Took longer. No patience but trying. J. Laughed when I burned my knuckles, made it sting less. Don't tell him I checked the brakes again after he left. He'll think I don't trust him. Noah paused. His fingers tightened on the edge of the page. This wasn't a mechanic's log anymore. It was a conversation Earl had with himself. One he couldn't have out loud. He kept reading. Told him not to come on Tuesday. Reed doesn't like it. Said it looks bad. I said nothing. Should have said something. He asked if I'd teach him welding. I said no. Don't know why. Maybe because yes would mean more. Noah swallowed hard. The next page was torn, jagged at the edge. The one after had only a date. Aug 18. Didn't show up. Garage too quiet. Can't fix that. No name. No explanation. Just that line. He closed the notebook slowly, set it down beside him like it might break if he let go too fast. His mind was racing, but not forward. Backward. Back to evenings when Earl stayed in the shop longer than usual. Back to times when he'd ask to borrow the truck and Earl would say it was already being used. Back to the unspoken tension that had always hung in the room but never had a name. Maybe it wasn't that Earl couldn't love. Maybe it was that he didn't know how to love two people at once, and one of them never forgave him for it. Noah reached for the small Polaroid again. Javi on the bike, eyes wide with something unburdened, and Earl beside him. They weren't just photos now. They were pieces of a story he had never been given. Not out of cruelty, maybe out of shame, maybe out of fear that Noah wouldn't understand. He opened the back cover of the notebook. Something was taped inside, a small rectangle of metal, dog tag size, etched with shaky lines almost childlike. Still mine. The same words from the Polaroid. Noah ran his thumb across the letters. The tag wasn't bought. It was made punched by hand, uneven and rough but deliberate. He held it for a long moment, then set it next to the photo. Outside, the wind kicked up a soft howl against the bay door. A low groan answered back from the pulley above. Noah stood, walked toward the wall of tools and pulled down a clean rag. He went to the motorcycle, kneeled, and, with the same care Earl once gave to cold metal, began wiping the dust away from the engine block. Not to fix it, not yet, just to see what was underneath. The garage at night had its own sound, not quite silence, more like a low breath stretched over wood and steel, the hum of memory that refused to sleep. Noah sat on the cot again, the same way he had that first night, but this time, with the notebook in his lap. A single light bulb swung above him, throwing faint arcs on the wall. He hadn't planned to open it again, but something in the way the pages had bent the spine cracked just enough to invite, made it impossible to leave alone. He read slowly. His father's handwriting was messier toward the end, still strong but less sure of itself. Some lines trailed off mid-thought. Others had entire words crossed out, like Earl had changed his mind halfway through admitting something. Noah flipped to a page dated September 3rd. Jay took the truck out past the ridge, didn't ask. I was angry, then scared, then pooed. He came back before sundown, said he knew I'd worry. I didn't say thank you, still can't. Noah stared at that line for a long time. Still can't. So much of Earl had been silence. But this was different. This was confession. As if the notebook had become the only place he could talk like a father. Noah remembered the day he asked Earl to come to his high school graduation. Earl said he had a job that couldn't wait. Noah never invited him again. At the time, it felt like punishment, but now it read like a mirror, each of them waiting for the other to say what needed saying. He flipped forward. Another line, short. He laughed like he'd never been told no. Then, Reed said someone called about the kid, didn't say who. I told him I'd handle it, but I didn't. Noah blinked. This was the first time someone else entered the pages, Reed. The name tightened something in Noah's chest. He turned more pages. The entries grew scattered, less narrative, more fragments. Should have told him to stay. Too late. Still hear the bike some nights, even though it's buried. Noah ran his hand down the page as if the ink might tell him something more than the words. But it didn't. He closed the notebook, let it rest on his chest as he leaned back. The bulb above swayed slightly, casting slow-moving shadows across the ceiling beams. He reached over and picked up the compass from the floor, held it flat in his palm. The needle turned once, then stilled. Not north, not south, somewhere in between. Like it knew something he didn't, he let the silence grow around him. And for the first time since he came back, Noah didn't feel angry or betrayed, just unfinished. Like something had been started then paused for too long. And maybe it was time to find out why. The sign read, "Reed's Tire and Alignment," but half the bulbs had gone out and the G in alignment hung crooked, dangling like a loose tooth. Noah hadn't been there in years, maybe not since his early teens. Back then, his dad and Reed used to talk like they'd been cut from the same steel plate. Now the place looked tired and quiet. He pushed the door open. The bell above barely made a sound. Inside, the air was warm with rubber and oil. Reed sat behind the counter, a mug of black coffee in one hand, a crossword puzzle in the other. His frame hadn't shrunk with age, still broad, still square, but his face was etched deeper now, jaw clenched like it hadn't relaxed since Earl died. He looked up, stared for half a beat, then, "Didn't expect to see you." Noah stepped forward, calm. "I'm cleaning out the garage." Reed sipped his coffee. "Figured that's what the dust cloud was yesterday." Silence hung between them. Noah placed the notebook on the counter, opened it to the page with the line about Reed. Reed said someone called about the kid, didn't say who. I told him I'd handle it, but I didn't. He tapped the entry once. "This true?" Reed glanced at it, didn't answer right away, then said flatly, "You digging up things won't change what's already rusted through. I'm not trying to change anything, I just want the truth." Reed leaned back in his chair. "The truth is, Earl had a soft spot he didn't know what to do with. That kid Javi, he brought something out of him. Maybe it scared him, maybe it embarrassed him." "You mean like love?" Reed's jaw tightened. "I mean, the kind of attachment people talk about when they've forgotten the world don't always forgive soft-hearted men." Noah stayed quiet. Reed added, "There was a call. Some woman, maybe a caseworker, maybe not, didn't leave a name, asked if a boy named Javi was still staying at the garage, asked if Earl had legal claim. And I told her I didn't know, because I didn't. Because Earl didn't talk about feelings, he talked about carburetors." Noah looked down at the notebook. Reed continued, voice lower now. "After that, things got tense. He stopped bringing the kid around, then the bike disappeared. I figured something happened, but I wasn't gonna ask. That's not how we did things back then." Noah's voice was flat. "No, you just buried them." Reed met his gaze. "Don't preach, kid. You didn't even stay to bury your father." That landed. For a second, neither man moved. Then Noah said, slower now, "He left things behind. For someone, not for me. That's the part that stings." Reed softened, just a notch. He did what he could with what he had, but yeah, maybe he gave the better part of himself to someone else. Noah looked away. Reed added, "We all take wrong turns, Noah. Some folks make it back. Some run out of road." A long breath passed between them. Then Noah said, "What kind of road did Javi take?" Reed hesitated, then, "That's not mine to say, but I heard he made it out west, Nevada maybe. Garage work, kept quiet." Noah nodded once, turned to leave. Reed called out, "If you find him, don't expect answers to fix what's broken. Sometimes just knowing someone else remembers is the best you'll get." Noah didn't look back, but in his pocket the dog tag pressed against his thigh like a reminder. The town library sat behind the courthouse, hidden under a roof of moss and cracked shingles. Noah hadn't stepped inside since middle school detention back when Earl told him books were fine, but grease'll teach you faster. It smelled the same paper, dust, old wood, like a place time didn't bother visiting anymore. He went to the archives room. No digital records here, just yellowing folders and brittle microfilm. The clerk barely looked up when he asked for newspapers from 15 years ago. "We don't loan them out," she said, already bored. "Won't need to," Noah replied. He spent the better part of an hour turning the crank of the microfilm machine, scanning headlines. Mostly obituaries, bake sales, letters to the editor about potholes, small-town noise. Then he saw it. A headline from June 2008. Local teen injured in off-road incident, no charges filed. His heart thudded once, loud, then again. He slowed the crank, centered the article. The scan was grainy but legible. He read, "A teenage boy, name withheld due to age, sustained minor injuries in an off-road incident outside Dustmore late Tuesday evening." Authorities responded to a call placed from a payphone near Route 7. The boy was found alone near a damaged dirt trail motorcycle reportedly not registered. The incident occurred on land belonging to a private ranch, sparking speculation of trespassing. Sheriff's Department declined to pursue charges. No guardians came forward. One source close to the department stated, "It's likely the boy was staying somewhere unofficial." There was no photo, no follow-up, just a quiet attempt to bury the story. Noah sat back in the wooden chair, breathing slow. It had to be Javi. The timeline matched, the bike, the way Reed danced around the questions. He reread the line. No guardians came forward. Not couldn't, didn't. Noah's jaw tightened. Earl knew. Had to. He must have heard, must have seen the bruises, the bandaged elbow, the silence. And instead of standing next to the kid at the sheriff's office, he shut the garage door and let the system do its work. Noah turned the crank again, scanning the bottom of the page. There in smaller print, almost buried. A local business owner was questioned but not named in the report. A source described the encounter as non-cooperative. No name. But Noah didn't need one. His hands curled into fists, not because he hated Earl, because part of him recognized the same impulse in himself, the impulse to shut down, to walk away when things got messy, to convince yourself someone else would fix it. He printed the article. The printer shrieked, slow and angry. The paper came out warm, edges curled. Back in the truck, he laid the page on the dashboard. The ink shimmered faintly under the sunlight like it wanted to disappear again. Noah stared at the words. No guardians came forward. The sentence burned in his mind like a brand. He reached into the glove box, pulled out the compass, set it beside the article. The needle twitched, then turned. West. Noah didn't smile, but something in his chest moved. Not forgiveness, but direction. The sun was low by the time Noah returned to the garage. He didn't take the printed article out of his jacket. Just walked straight to the back wall, stood there, breathing hard. The silence pressed in again. Then, without warning, his fist went through the side window. The sound of shattering glass split the dusk. He didn't yell, didn't curse, just stood there, arm half in, half out of the broken frame, blood already beating at the knuckles. He didn't even pull back right away, didn't feel the pain until a minute later. He sat on the edge of the workbench, staring at the red trail down his forearm. Didn't move to stop it. Didn't flinch when Lucy walked in through the open bay door. She froze when she saw him. Then her voice flat, even cut the quiet. "You really thought that would fix something?" Noah didn't answer. She crossed to the drawer beside the tool wall, pulled out an old first aid kit, popped it open on the bench. "Left hand," she said. He didn't move, so she grabbed his wrist, gently but firm, and began cleaning the cut. It stung like hell. "Still think you're too tough for peroxide?" she muttered. He managed a dry exhale. "Did I ever say that?" "Every summer before July, like clockwork." She wrapped gauze around his knuckles, taped it tight. Noah stared at her hands. Careful, practiced. Not soft, but certain. When she finished, she sat beside him, both of them facing the window now, cracked and open to the air. Neither spoke. Then Noah said, almost under breath, "He didn't step up. When it counted." Lucy nodded once. "No, he didn't." Noah looked down. "I'm not even sure why that hurts more than the rest." "Because it means he could have," she said quietly, "and chose not to." Another pause. The cicadas had started up outside. Summer noise. Constant, dull, oddly comforting. Noah said, "I left because I didn't want to become him." "I know. But maybe I did, just with fewer excuses." Lucy turned toward him. "You came back." He didn't look up. She added, "And when you saw something broken, you didn't bury it. You bled for it." That caught him off guard. He turned to her. "That's not redemption." "No," she said. "It's a start." They sat in silence again. Then she reached down and picked up the compass from the bench. The needle had settled again. "Still pointing somewhere strange," she said. "Maybe it's not broken," Noah said. "Maybe it's just not for finding north." She set it in his palm. "Then let it tell you where to go." Outside, a light wind stirred. Inside, the garage felt less heavy. Not healed, just breathing again. They sat on the tailgate of the truck, legs swinging just above the gravel. The light was dimming, one of those early summer evenings when the sun takes its time letting go. Lucy had brought over sandwiches and 2 bottles of sweet tea. Neither of them had touched the food. Noah stared across the field. The garage stood behind him, silent, almost watchful. A building with too many secrets in its bones. Lucy broke the quiet. "You're not going to find what you're looking for inside that place," she said. Noah didn't respond. She went on. "Whatever Earl left behind, he didn't know how to finish it. That's not on you. But walking in circles around his silence, that's a choice." Noah took a long sip of tea. Let it settle. "I don't even know if Javi wants to be found," he said. "That's not the point," Lucy said. "This isn't for him, it's for you." He glanced sideways. She was watching the sky, not him. Lucy had a way of saying hard things like they were facts, not wounds. He envied that. "I used to think," she said, "that if I just kept busy enough, what hurt wouldn't catch up. That if I filled my days with meetings and zoning requests, I could outwalk the ache." Her voice was even, almost too steady. "I was wrong." Noah looked at her, really looked, and something in her silence filled in the rest. She had lost something too, maybe not someone buried, but someone missing. "Did it help?" he asked quietly. "No," she said, "but naming it did." They sat there, the breeze tugging at her sleeves, stirring dust around their boots. After a long pause, she added, "You have a trail now, a real one, names, places, signs your father left, even if he didn't mean to." "Or maybe he did," Noah said. "Just didn't know how to say it out loud." Lucy nodded. "Some people leave maps, others leave messes. Earl might have left both." Noah exhaled. It wasn't a laugh, just the sound of weight shifting. "What if I go looking and all I find is someone who wants nothing to do with any of this?" he asked. Lucy didn't flinch. "Then at least you'll know, and you won't spend the rest of your life staring at a door, wondering if it should have been opened." She reached into her bag, pulled out a folded piece of paper, a printed map, a few towns circled in red ink. "Reed was right about Nevada. I pulled DMV records on motorcycle licenses. One name popped up, Javier Cruz, age fits. He's been working at a small garage west of Ely." Noah took the paper, held it without unfolding, then said, You always carry maps for people who don't ask? Lucy smiled, but there was no lightness in it. Only for the ones who don't know they're lost. Noah stared at the horizon. It didn't look like a destination, just a direction. But maybe that was enough. He folded the map, put it in his jacket pocket. Didn't say thank you, didn't need to. Lucy bumped her shoulder gently against his. You're stubborn. You always said that like it was a flaw. It is, she said, but sometimes it's the only reason people come back. The sun in Nevada wasn't like dust moors. It didn't ease into your skin, it pressed heavy and dry from the moment it rose. Noah parked across the road from a squat, low-built garage with peeling green paint and a rusted sign that read, Mendoza Auto and Tire. He didn't step out right away. From the truck, he could see a figure crouched under the hood of an old Honda. Lean frame, black bandana tucked in his back pocket. Same build, same tilt of the head, 15 years older, but unmistakable. Javi. Noah sat with the engine off, the desert wind slipping through the cracked window. He thought about turning around. Then he grabbed the notebook from the glove box and stepped out. The sound of gravel under his boots must have caught Javi's attention. He stood slowly, wiped his hands on a rag, and turned. Their eyes met. Javi didn't move. Noah walked halfway across the lot, then stopped, keeping a good 10 feet between them. Javier Cruz? He asked, though he already knew. Javi nodded once, cautious. Who's asking? Noah hesitated. Name's Noah Brody. I think we have someone in common. Javi's eyes narrowed. Noah held up the notebook. Earl Brody was my father. A beat, then another. Javi didn't blink, didn't step closer, just stood there, posture still and unreadable. Noah added, he passed 2 months ago. I've been going through the shop. I found things. Javi said nothing. So Noah stepped forward slow and extended the notebook. No push, no explanation, just an offering. Javi looked at it, didn't take it. Noah didn't lower his hand. Finally, Javi reached out, just 2 fingers at first, then took the whole thing. He didn't open it, didn't thank him, just stared at the cover. Ran a thumb down the edge like checking to see if it would bite. Noah waited. The wind moved between them, then Javi said, voice low, dry as gravel, why bring it here? Noah took a breath. Because I think he wanted to finish something, and I think you were part of it. Javi's eyes flicked up. He wanted a lot of things. None of them stuck. Noah didn't flinch. Maybe, but some of it stayed buried. You deserve to know what he wrote. Javi opened the notebook finally, flipping through slowly. He stopped at a page somewhere in the back. Read something Noah couldn't see. His jaw moved slightly, but he didn't speak. Noah said, I'm not here to make anything right. I can't. Javi closed the book. Good, because you can't. A pause, not hostile, just true. Then almost softer, Javi asked, he ever tell you why I left? Noah shook his head. No, but I found the article. Javi gave a bitter half smile. Funny how silence has more weight than sound. They stood there, 2 men shaped by the same ghost. Finally, Javi said, I kept the bike for a while, thought maybe he'd call or show up. Noah blinked. He buried it in the garage. Javi nodded slowly, eyes glinting. Figures. That was always his way. Noah looked down, then said, It still runs. Barely. Javi gave a dry chuckle. So did we. That landed somewhere in Noah's chest. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Then Noah turned to go, stopped after 2 steps. Without facing him, he said, He wrote one line a lot, over and over. Not mine, still mine. Javi didn't answer, but Noah didn't need him to. As he reached his truck, Javi called out, "Hey!" Noah turned. Javi held up the notebook. "I'll read it." Noah nodded once. "That's all I came for." He got in the truck, started the engine, and drove away with the wind behind him. Not like something chasing, but something letting go. The next morning, the sky was the color of ash, pale and thin behind a curtain of dust. Noah's truck rolled back into the lot at Mendoza Auto just after 6. Javi was already outside, sitting on the concrete stoop sipping from a chipped coffee mug. He didn't flinch when he saw Noah. Just set the mug down beside him and stood. Noah didn't say a word. He walked to the bed of his truck, unlatched the tailgate, and pulled out the bike. The same bike. Red paint still dulled by years underground. The rubber tires flat, the seat cracked along the edge. He wheeled it forward, slow and steady. Javi watched. Noah stopped beside him. "Let the handlebars go." Javi took hold. Together, without needing to agree, they rolled the bike into the shop. Inside it was cool and dim. The scent of oil hung thick in the air. Light filtered in through a high window, striping the floor in gold. No words passed. Javi wheeled the bike up onto the lift. Noah grabbed the jack. The work began. He loosened the chain while Javi cleaned the carb. They moved around each other with the rhythm of men who knew machines and didn't need to explain what came next. The bike creaked, metal groaning like it was remembering something. Javi pointed to a missing bolt. Noah walked across the room, found a replacement in a jar of mismatched parts. Passed it over. They nodded. That was enough. An hour passed like that. Then 2. Sweat built under their shirts, but neither stopped. Javi laid out new spark plugs, fingers quick and precise. Noah handled the wiring. At one point they reached for the same tool. Their hands brushed. Both paused. Neither pulled back too fast. Outside, the wind picked up. A shutter banged gently against the frame. Inside, the sound of sockets turning filled the space. Metal on metal. Cloth wiping grease. The low hum of something beginning to thaw. Noah tested the throttle. Javi adjusted the mirror. Still, not a word. But something was different now. The air felt less tight, like the room had opened a little, like memory could exist here without hurting as much. Javi stepped back, looked at the bike, then looked at Noah, just for a second, then back again. Noah tightened the last bolt, wiped his hands, nodded once. They stood there side by side, not touching, not smiling, but no longer turned away. The bike sat between them, a piece of the past, rebuilt, not perfect, not new, but real, like them. Javi reached into his back pocket, pulled out the dog tag Noah had left in the notebook. He didn't hand it back, didn't say anything, just ran his thumb across the words one last time, then tucked it into the small metal box above the engine. He closed the lid. Noah watched, then turned to go. At the door, he paused, looked back once. Javi was already wiping down the tools as if the morning had been just another job. But the way he moved, slower now, more deliberate, said otherwise. Noah stepped into the sunlight, and this time when he left, the wind didn't follow. The garage was still. Morning light slipped through the east-facing windows, catching the dust in gold. A storm had passed during the night. The air smelled clean, like wet gravel and cedar. Noah stepped inside, set down his duffel, and looked around. The same workbench, the same oil stains on the concrete floor. But something had shifted. Maybe it was him. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the small compass, the one Javi hadn't taken, the one that had spun the first night he returned. The needle was steady now, pointing northeast. Then he walked to the wall above the tool chest. A single nail stuck out, bare. rusted, unused. He hung the compass on it. Then he reached into the drawer far back where Earl had kept odds and ends. After a moment of digging, Noah found the second one, an older compass, heavier, encased in cracked leather. His father's. He held it in his palm. It still worked, stubborn as ever. Noah hung it beside the first. 2 compasses, 2 lives, 2 directions, one pointed northeast, the other west. He stared at them both, let the silence stretch. Behind him, the side door creaked open. Lucy stepped in holding 2 cups of coffee. "You didn't call," she said. Noah didn't turn. Didn't need to. She walked up beside him, offered a cup. He took it without a word. They stood there, shoulder to shoulder, facing the wall. Looking at the 2 compasses, their needles trembled slightly. Lucy sipped her coffee, eyes scanning the rusted edges of the older one. "His always pointed west," she said. Noah nodded. Never understood why. Maybe because that's where the hard things lived. Noah took a slow sip. The coffee was too hot, a little bitter. He didn't mind. He set the cup on the bench, stepped closer to the wall. With one finger he touched the newer compass, the one that had been his. The needle didn't flinch. Lucy asked, "So, what now?" Noah answered without looking at her, "I don't think I'm supposed to leave yet. Because of him." "No," Noah said. "Because of me." She didn't reply. Didn't need to. The breeze caught the edges of a paper on the wall, a maintenance checklist Earl had once taped there. Half the boxes still unchecked. Noah ran his thumb across the edge of the workbench. Rough wood, years of wear. He turned to Lucy. "Think the town could use a new mechanic?" She raised an eyebrow. "A Brody fixing what people bring in broken?" He smirked. "Figured it's a family tradition." She looked around the garage, then back at him. "You gonna repaint the sign?" "No," he said. "Not yet. Not until it feels like mine." She nodded. A long silence stretched again, but not an awkward one. This silence was shared, rested, known. Then she said, "Both compasses still point somewhere." Noah looked up. "Yes," he said, "just not the same place." And that, somehow, felt right. He picked up the coffee again, took a sip. Outside, the storm had washed the streets clean. Dustmore looked a little less like memory, a little more like a place to start over. He didn't know how long he'd stay, didn't need to. For now, there were tools to clean, shelves to sort, a bench that hadn't been used right in years, and 2 compasses quietly humming the truth. We all come from somewhere. But where we go next, that's a choice. They parked by the lake just after 7, the same lake they used to sneak off to after summer shifts back when Dustmore felt too small. And futures seemed like things you could pick off trees if you reached far enough. Noah sat on the tailgate of his truck, same as always. Lucy stood near the water, arms crossed, wind brushing strands of her hair into her face. She didn't tuck them back, just let them dance. The lake hadn't changed. Still ringed by broken fence posts, still quiet like it had been waiting. "Remember this place?" she asked without turning. Noah smiled. "I remember you wouldn't let me play that scratched-up Springsteen tape." She smirked. "Because you only knew one line and kept butchering the rest." A pause, then, "I didn't come here after you left." He looked down. "I didn't think you would." She turned to face him now, hands in her jacket pockets. Not out of spite, just didn't know how to sit in the same place with half the sound gone. He nodded. "I get that." She walked back, climbed up onto the tailgate beside him. They sat, elbows nearly touching, both looking out over the still water. Noah finally asked, "Did I leave the wrong way?" Lucy took her time answering. "No," she said. "You left the only way you knew how." That sounds like a kind way of saying yes. She glanced sideways. It's a kind way of saying it hurt. He didn't argue. didn't defend. After a long pause, she said, "I'm thinking about leaving." His head turned. "Not running," she clarified. "Just starting over. Somewhere quieter. Somewhere that isn't full of almosts." "Where?" She shrugged. "I don't know yet. There's a town up north, couple hours from here. I could help run planning for a school expansion. Not glamorous, but clean." He looked out at the lake again. "You told me once Dustmore was the only place where things made sense." She nodded. "I think I needed it to make sense, because everything else felt like it didn't. And now? Now I'm not so afraid of places that don't give me the answers right away." He let that settle. "Would you have stayed?" he asked. She didn't pretend not to understand. "Yes," she said, honest and steady, "if you had asked." That landed with a thud in his chest. No sting, no regret, just truth. He reached into the glove box behind them and pulled out the old Polaroid creased, sun-bleached, but still whole. Javi looked happiest when he didn't know anyone was watching, Noah said. Lucy looked at the photo. Maybe that's all any of us want, to be seen, quietly. He set the picture down on the truck bed, then asked, "If you leave, would it be for good?" She didn't answer at first. Then, "I don't know. That's the thing about healing, it doesn't come with a return policy." He laughed gently. "Sounds like you've been thinking about this longer than you let on." "I have." "And?" She looked at him, eyes steady. "And I needed to know if you'd leave again before I made up my mind." He didn't blink. "I won't." She let out a slow breath. "You don't have to stay for me." "I'm not," he said. "I'm staying because the past finally stopped feeling like a cage." Lucy smiled. Not wide, not dramatic, just a soft recognition. Then she leaned her head on his shoulder, not out of promise, out of memory and possibility. They stayed like that until the sun dipped behind the ridge and the water darkened, not saying much, but saying enough. Reed's shop looked smaller than Noah remembered. Maybe it was the daylight, maybe it was him. The sign still hung crooked. The same dent in the front door, the same smell of rubber and rain-soaked cement. Noah pushed the door open. The bell above gave its tired little chime. Reed was sitting behind the counter with the sports section folded in his lap and a coffee mug half full. He looked up, unsurprised. "Thought you were headed west." Noah stepped in, nodded. "I was, came back." Reed grunted. "Dustmore's got that effect on people. Makes leaving feel temporary." Noah stood in front of the counter. Not tense, just present. "Can I sit?" he asked. Reed nodded toward the stool. "You don't need my permission." Noah took the seat. For a moment they just sat there. Two men with too much shared silence between them. Then Reed said, "You find him?" "I did." "And?" "He's okay, older, still doesn't say much." Reed looked into his coffee. "Neither did your old man." Noah cracked a small smile. "Yeah, not until the end, and even then, only in ink." Reed tapped the side of his mug. "Some of us were built for wrenches, not words." "That used to sound like an excuse," Noah said. "Now it just sounds like a fact." Reed nodded once. "So, you came back to tell me he's fine?" "No," Noah said. "I came back because you were part of it, whether you wanted to be or not." Reed looked up. "You were the one standing next to him when he shut the world out," Noah continued. "Maybe you didn't cause the silence, but you didn't break it either." Reed's jaw moved slightly, not clenched, just worn. "You think I could have fixed what wasn't mine?" he asked. "No," Noah said, "but I think you knew it was broken." A long pause. Then Reed said, slower now, he was scared of what people would say, of what that kind of care would cost him. "I never saw your father cry, but the day that kid left, he didn't speak for 3. Noah let that settle, then asked, Why didn't you say that sooner? Reed stared at the countertop. Because I thought it wouldn't matter. Thought you hated him too much to care. Noah shook his head. I didn't hate him. I just couldn't see him clearly. All I had was the noise he left behind. Reed looked up again, this time meeting Noah's eyes. And now? Noah breathed in through his nose, slow, then exhaled. Now I see the man, not the mistakes. Reed leaned back in his chair, then quietly said, That's more than most sons give their fathers. Noah stood, reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a worn spark plug, rusted, scorched, useless. He set it gently on the counter. From his first truck, he said. It cracked in '98. He kept it in the bottom drawer. Reed stared at it, picked it up like it might fall apart. Noah turned to leave. At the door, Reed spoke again. Glad you came back. Noah didn't turn, just nodded once. Me too. He stepped outside. The sky was soft with overcast light. No sun, no rain, just space. Behind him, the bell chimed again as the door swung shut, and for the first time it didn't sound tired, just done. The garage was still when Noah walked in after sundown. No music, no traffic. Just the creak of the old door settling behind him and the soft crunch of gravel beneath his boots. He didn't turn on the main lights. Only the workbench lamp, its cone of yellow light, cut a circle through the dust. Just enough to see what mattered. In the back corner sat the old project car. Earl's last unfinished job. The one he never got around to. Maybe never planned to. It had no name, just the silence of something waiting too long to be remembered. The hood was up, the engine halfway disassembled, parts sat labeled, some wrapped in oil-stained towels. Others still gleamed like they'd just come off the shelf. Noah stepped up to the bench and ran his hand along the curved fender. Smooth metal, dented in places, a little rust near the edges. He remembered helping Earl take the engine out that summer, the only time his father had let him handle the chain lift solo. He'd nearly dropped it. Earl had shouted but hadn't taken the wrench out of his hands. That night came back now in flashes, the smell of grease, the taste of lukewarm soda, the sound of crickets outside. Noah exhaled and opened the tool chest. He started with the distributor cap, then the plugs. He moved slow, methodical, like he wasn't fixing a car but restoring a language he hadn't spoken in years. He checked torque, adjusted timing, cleaned surfaces with precision that surprised even him. Hours passed. The silence thickened, but it wasn't heavy. It was present, like someone was still in the room, not watching, just letting him work. At one point, he wiped his forehead and noticed the grease on his sleeve, same as Earl's old coveralls, gray with darker elbow stains. He smiled at that, not because it was sentimental, but because it was familiar. At some point, he turned on the small radio in the corner. A low hum of static gave way to soft classic country, something old, slow, and aching. Earl's kind of music. Noah didn't skip the song. He let it play. Around 1:40 a.m., he dropped the hood shut, stepped back, looked at what was now whole, not perfect, but whole. He opened the door and slid into the driver's seat. The upholstery still cracked, the vinyl torn on the edge, the steering wheel cool under his palms. He turned the key. The engine coughed once, then caught. A low, steady rumble filled the garage, bouncing off the walls like a quiet victory. Noah didn't rev it, just let it idle, let it speak. He rested his hands on the wheel and closed his eyes, and for the first time since Earl passed, Noah didn't feel angry, or lost, or unfinished. He felt steady, like maybe finishing the car wasn't about the machine. It was about picking up where someone else left off. Not to prove anything, just so it wouldn't be left undone. He let the engine run a few more seconds, then turned it off. The silence returned. But it felt different now. Not absence, just rest. He climbed out, wiped his hands on an old rag, and looked back at the car one last time. Then he reached for the string hanging from the ceiling, pulled the garage door halfway open and let the night air in. Above, the stars were out, clear, quiet. He stood there a while, not waiting for anything, just being there. And in that stillness, Noah finally felt what he hadn't known he needed. The sense that Earl flawed, closed off, impossible Earl had built something after all. Not just machines, but spaces, for others to finish what he couldn't. Noah was sitting on the front steps of the garage when Lucy pulled up. She didn't honk, didn't wave. Just parked, got out, and walked over holding a glass bottle and two mismatched tumblers. Noah looked up. Lemonade, same kind she used to make the summer after high school, too tart. Not enough sugar. Earl used to tease her, say she made it like it was meant to punish sins. She handed him a glass without asking. "Still stubborn," he said, taking it. "And you still drink whatever someone puts in your hand." He smiled barely. "Not true." She raised an eyebrow. "You're drinking it." He shrugged. They sat side by side on the step. The wind was soft, brushing against the tall grass by the fence. The sun was down, but the air still held its warmth. No one spoke for a while, then Lucy said, "I found a box the other day, from the year you left." He didn't ask what was in it, but she told him anyway. "Letters I never sent, receipts from the diner, that stupid pressed flower you tucked in the zoning map." Noah looked down at his glass. "I forgot I did that," he said. "I didn't." Another pause. Then she added, "I kept them because I thought maybe one day I'd want to remember you fondly. But for a long time I didn't." He nodded. "You don't owe me that." "No," she said, "I don't." They sipped their drinks. The tartness hit his tongue like a jolt. She hadn't added sugar this time either. Good, he thought. It wasn't meant to go down easy. Lucy glanced sideways. "You were right to leave, but wrong to vanish." He didn't argue. She continued, "What I never forgave wasn't the leaving. It was that you left me with the silence, with your father, with the shop sitting like a wound no one wanted to close." Noah exhaled. "I didn't think you wanted me around." "I didn't know how to ask," she said. He looked at her now. Really looked. Strong jaw, tired eyes, the same streak of defiance behind them. "You were the first person to ever see me clearly," he said. "That scared the hell out of me." "I know," she said. "You ran straight out of town the second I looked too close." "I'm sorry." She didn't answer right away, then softly, "I know." They sat with that. The stars blinked into view above them, slow and scattered. Noah said, "I don't expect you to forgive all of it." "I haven't," Lucy said, "but I came back here with lemonade." He smiled. "Punishment lemonade." "Exactly." He set his glass down. "Are you still leaving?" She thought for a moment, then, "Yes, but maybe not forever. Maybe not right away." He nodded. "Good." Another silence passed, this one softer. She reached into her bag and pulled out a photo creased, sun-faded. A picture of the three of them from years ago, Lucy, Noah, and Earl, standing in front of the old truck, Noah's arm over Lucy's shoulder. Earl, for once, smiling. "Your dad gave this to me," she said. "Said to hold on to it in case you ever came back." He took it gently, ran a thumb along the edge. "Did he know I would?" "No," she said, "but I think he hoped." Noah folded the photo carefully, put it in his jacket. They sat for a while longer, watching the porch light buzz and flicker. Eventually, Lucy stood. "I'll be back to say goodbye when I go." "I'll be here," he said. She touched his arm briefly. then walked to her car and drove off into the quiet. Noah stayed on the step. The lemonade still sat beside him, tart and half-finished. He didn't drink the rest, just let it sit, like memory, sharp, unresolved but present. The rain had passed by midnight, leaving the streets slick and glowing under the faded orange streetlights. Noah pulled into the garage just to grab a spare rag. He wasn't expecting anything, didn't notice the difference at first. The space looked the same, the smell of oil, the faint hum of the fridge in the back, the workbench still cluttered from the day before. Then his eyes caught it. The truck hood was propped open, not his doing. He walked over, slow, unsure why his chest was already tight. Pinned under the windshield wiper was a folded scrap of notepad paper. Noah stared at it for a second before reaching out. It wasn't in Earl's handwriting, wasn't Lucy's either. He unfolded it. Done. Just late. That was all. 3 words, written in clean, blocky letters, familiar but hesitant, like someone not used to saying much, even on paper. Noah turned slowly and scanned the shop. No one. The bay doors were locked, the gravel outside undisturbed. He stepped back to the truck, looked under the hood, and saw it. The carburetor had been adjusted cleaner now, the bolts replaced with ones he didn't own. The wiring had been reset, color-coded. Subtle work. Careful hands. Javi. Noah didn't need a signature. He folded the note once, twice, and slid it into his shirt pocket like something sacred. He ran his hand along the edge of the hood, then gently lowered it shut. The latch clicked into place with a finality that didn't feel sad, just full. He walked to the tool bench, picked up the compass from the wall, the newer one, the one he'd carried back from Nevada. The needle twitched, then pointed clear, steady, not north, just forward. Noah smiled, didn't say a word, didn't need to. Outside, the rain had stopped completely. The night air smelled like clean metal and possibility. The morning light filtered softly through the garage windows, painting long stripes across the floor. Noah stood before the wall where the 2 compasses hung side by side. The older one, his father's, darkened leather cracked along the edges. The newer one steady, its brass gleaming faintly in the sunlight. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small black marker. Kneeling slightly, he uncapped it. His hand was steady as he wrote a line beneath the compasses. Past behind us. Forward is ours. The letters were clean, simple, no flourish. He stepped back and studied the wall. The 2 compasses pointed in different directions, but the line beneath them tied them together. A single sentence bridging old and new. Behind him, the garage door creaked open. Lucy stepped in, quiet as ever. She looked up at the compasses, then at Noah. He smiled softly. She nodded. No words were needed. Together they walked to the workbench. Noah picked up a wrench, handed it to her. She took it without hesitation. Outside, the sun rose higher. Dustmore stirred awake. Inside the garage, the light stayed on. The late afternoon sun stretched long shadows across Dustmore's main street. Noah was loading tools into the back of his truck when he heard the crunch of gravel behind him. He turned. Lucy stood there, her jacket pulled tight against the cool breeze. No bag, no hurry, just the faintest smile. He didn't say anything. She didn't either. Noah glanced at the empty passenger seat, then back at her. "Is there room on the truck?" he asked. His voice was steady but soft. She looked down at her boots for a moment, then back at him. A slow nod. No words, no explanations, just the quiet acceptance that sometimes what's left unspoken is the most powerful. Noah opened the door for her. She climbed in, settling in with the ease of someone who's come home. He climbed in beside her. The engine turned over. The truck pulled away. Dustmore fell behind them. Ahead lay open roads and the possibility of new beginnings. The garage stood silent under the deepening twilight. Tools lay still on the workbench. The faded oil stains on the floor seemed less like scars and more like stories. The two compasses hung on the wall, their needles steady and unmoving. Outside, a soft breeze stirred the loose leaves near the door. For a moment, nothing stirred. Then a low rumble, a familiar sound, a motorcycle. The engine turned over with a steady pulse, breaking the quiet like a heartbeat finding its rhythm again. The bay door slid open slowly, letting in the last golden light of day. A figure appeared in the doorway, not in sharp focus, just a silhouette framed by the fading sun. A helmet was lifted, a smile, unseen but felt. The bike rolled forward. Tires hummed against the concrete floor. The engine's growl softened as the rider cut the ignition. Silence returned. But it was different now. Full, warm. A story once paused had found its next page. Outside, the stars began to pierce the darkening sky. Inside, the garage light flickered on softly. And somewhere, a compass needle trembled ready for the next journey.